All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order tonight. Thank you for everybody that's participating. Large crowd, so I'm sure we're all very happy to see everybody in the audience tonight. With that being said, we'll go ahead and officially call to order. Councilman Wilson, if you would open us up, please, sir.
Yes. Let's pray. Father God, we just pause to thank you for allowing us to be here for one more day. Father God, we just thank you for your grace and your mercy. Father, we ask that you just guide our hearts tonight. Allow us to do thy will. Father, we ask that you bless every family that's represented here. And Father God, we just thank you just for being who you are. We ask these things in your son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Roll call. Councilman London.
Present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here.
Councilman Box. Councilman Wilson.
Present.
Outstanding. And myself present as well. We have on our next spot on the agenda is for the approval of the minutes for the regular council meeting on May 19th. Can someone introduce that, please?
Sure, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the council meeting on May 19th, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. Thank you. Next item is the approval of current bills. Would someone introduce that for the floor?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the bills in the amount of $131,614.19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. Thank you. We find ourselves now looking for any professional or consultant reports. Do we have any professionals or any consultants? I'm going to go with the no. Now we find ourselves looking for mayor. If you would please, you have the floor. If you'd please give us your report.
Okay, thank you, Council President, for giving me the opportunity to be able to share with our citizens tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out and being able to participate in the political process. Hopefully, we will have great deliberations tonight, and hopefully we won't be here to midnight. However, I'll go ahead and start with my report. The drawings for the public improvements on Old Overton Trail and Mountain View Estates are in the engineering office. So anyone that would like to see a copy of those drawings, they are currently at the engineering office. On May 10th, the City of Irondale had an opportunity to participate in the Chamber of Commerce Golf Classic, and I am proud to say that we finished tied for second. However, because of the tiebreaker, we came in third place. So I would like to thank Jared and who else was on there, Jared, with you all? And Daryl Truck. So we'd like to thank all of those individuals. The reason that team was successful because they moved me off of the team and I was replaced with Michael Wallace, better known as Boo in the Public Works, and also we removed Frank Pennington at the same time. So they got rid of the two biggest casualties they had on the team and put some real golf players on there. So I'd just like to thank them for coming into second place. Also on May the 19th, I had an opportunity to do a business town hall meeting, and it was a wonderful opportunity just to be able to share with the business community what is getting ready to take place in the city of Irondale for the upcoming year. On May 27th, I was the keynote speaker at the Irondale Middle School, where I had an opportunity to be able to give the commencement speech to the 8th graders as they were getting ready to go to the high school. And I was very glad to have that opportunity to do that. On June the 21st, we reopened the Senior Activity Center on yesterday, and I could say that that was a wonderful event. There were probably close to 100 seniors in attendance. They were happy to have the chance to be able to get out into fellowship with their fellow seniors. So we are ecstatic about being able to open the facility and to resume having activities there at the facility. On June the 3rd, Kirkwood by the River is having a groundbreaking. They are actually doing a major expansion to their facility. On June the 6th, I'm going to do the message with the mayor. That's going to be on Sunday, and the guest host is Kim McDaniel. Anybody that would like to be a host, be able to do message with the mayor, just contact Lee Allison at 205-951-1383, and we'll go from there. Last council meeting, I gave out my wife's phone number, and I got in trouble when I got home. So I said that I wouldn't do that, Lee, so I gave him your phone number instead. On June the 12th and the 26th, if you look at the announcement that was in the water bill, it said that we would be having the food box giveaway, but we're not going to have that on June the 12th as well as on June the 26th. So if you would please let individuals know that we will not be distributing food on those 2 Saturdays, we really would appreciate it. On June the 19th, the police department is sponsoring a cornhole tournament at Classic Cars, and it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. On June the 24th, we're having coffee with the mayor. We're having 2 sessions, one from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and the second session is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to give everybody an opportunity who would like to come by and have a discussion with the mayor about what's going on in the city, what's going on in their surrounding areas. You have 2 times to be able to do that. On June the 23rd, I would like to schedule a work session with the council to discuss the upcoming road project. So if you all would let me know that if you're available on the 23rd of June to be able to participate in that event, I would highly appreciate it so that I can unveil to you my recommendations for dealing with the roads in the city of Irondale for FY 2021. The bids for Ruffiner Park was received on yesterday. The amount for the major bid was $1,335,000. There were also 4 alternatives. One of the alternatives was a parking lot for $150,000. Alternative 2 was for a dog park with $63,000. Alternative 3 was for signage, was $25,000. And alternate number 4 was for sidewalks, and it was $60,000. Also, I would like to thank Senator Linda Coleman. She is going to give the city of Irondale $20,000 in a community grant, and we're going to use that community grant, or when she asked me what do we want to use those funds for, we're going to start the Fire Explorer program here at the city of Irondale. And also I would like to start another program. It's called the Academy of Citizen Engagement, where for 6 weeks citizens can come to City Hall and you can actually learn how we run City Hall. So if you got questions about public works, fire department, water department, all of those things, or if you want to know how the revenues flows in the city and how we use it to be able to provide you with the services that you need, if you go through that academy, you will get to the opportunity to be able to be a well-informed citizen, and you'll have a better understanding about how we do things here at the city of Irondale. And my last statement is that I want to thank everyone that participated in Blueprint Irondale. We set a goal to be able to receive 1,000 surveys, and we have received up until this point 1,100 surveys. So we've eclipsed the 1,000 surveys that we set as a goal. I want to thank everybody in the community for their participation. I'm not going to call out any names because once I start calling names, I'm going to miss someone. So I'm just going to thank everybody from the teams that went out to canvass the neighborhoods, from individuals that came and worked the phone bank, for individuals that just took the time out to go online and to be able to fill out the survey. So the next step is we're going to gather all of this information. The Regional Planning Commission is going to do a statistical analysis of all the responses, and hopefully within a few months we will be giving you a report to let you know what the people in the city of Irondale has said, what they would like to see over the next 5 to 20 years. And that will complete my report for tonight, Council President's filing.
Thank you, sir. And just for notes on 6/23, your work session, do you have a time identified for that yet?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Thank you. And that'll be available via the streaming service as well?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, that being said, do we have any department heads that would like to give a report? I know we've got a few of them with us. Any reports from our department heads? Would you like Chief McDaniel to introduce some of the people that we have with us tonight, or would you like to just wait till we come to that item?
We can wait till we get to that item.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, that being said, reports of boards and non-council committees. Do we have any of those boards or committees that would like to deliver a report tonight? Okay. All right, now we find ourselves at the moment where we're going to begin deliberating on agenda items only. Just for housekeeping, we've got a lot of items on our agenda tonight, so I hope that if there were any questions out there, we've had a chance to field those to your satisfaction. We'll still talk about them a little bit, but I'm trying to avoid us getting too bogged down in them, as I want to keep this meeting moving. We have 2 public hearings that we'll need to get through tonight, and then we will also have we'll have an executive session towards the middle of our meeting that we'll go out of this room. We'll do our executive session, and then we'll come back into this room and finish the remainder of the agenda.
4 public hearings.
4 public hearings, I apologize. Thank you. Guess item 3 and 4 were important. Okay. So that being said, just so you guys have an expectation of how this meeting is going to flow tonight. As far as our public hearings, we're going to do those first. Notice is hereby given that at a public hearing will be held by the City Council to hear comments from interested citizens concerning the proposed rezoning of the property located at 2605 Edwards Street, Irondale, Alabama 35210, from R2 and R3 residential districts to a C2 commercial district. So Chief McDaniel has got this up on the monitor. I'd like to go ahead and just flip this around. Absolutely. All right, so he's got Google Maps pulled up so you can kind of see approximately where this is. I'd like to go ahead and open our public hearing. At this time, we would take any comments from any citizens in favor of this rezoning. And once again, if you come up to speak for or against this, our new city clerk here, Ms. Lou, she's not familiar with everybody, so please make sure that you're providing your name and address to her in the written format.
Fill out one.
Thank you, sir.
I've got some,
All right, thank you, sir.
I would.
And Mr. Graham, I know you're basically, this is your item, so I want to give you some additional time, but as far as anybody else coming to speak for or against, I'm going to be
Mr. Graham?
enforcing the 2-minute rule.
Mr. Graham, one short.
One short.
You can have mine, Ross.
That's fine, he's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
I can look at it. Yeah.
This property is located on Grants Mill Road, next door. It's 2 doors down from the Methodist Church on Grants Mill. There are 3 parcels on here. The back 2 parcels are remaining residential. This does not deal with the 2 parcels behind it. Those 2 parcels stay, but the Edward Street cul-de-sac, those won't be affected, won't be graded, won't be anything done with them. Retail specialists brought these people to me. And that's the same people that we have contracted to bring businesses to us. This is a C2 zoning. You've got C2 next door to it. You've got C2 that's down the street where Edward Street comes in. You got C2 across from it. So this is the same zonings that we've got there now. This gentleman is wanting to build a convenience store. He's not asking for anything from the city, no tax abatements or anything like that. We have done the study on the site distances, which all that will come in with the plans. That really has nothing to do with the zoning. But we've done with site distances and, any lighting things that people are asking about, that'll all come in with the plans. But it shouldn't affect any of the houses there because it's on the front down there. And they plan to lower that lot about 6 to 8 feet. They are asking to buy another lot from me across the street. It's not on this zoning, but they're gonna put the dirt there and they're gonna build another retail spot across the street with the dirt that they come off of there from. So,
How big of a plot is that across the
it's a
street?
little over an acre.
Thank you.
The whole 3 parcels, a little over 2 acres. But like I said, these are the same people that are doing some other work for the city that brought this to me.
Okay. Do you feel, we'll let the public ask some questions, and then we'll have, once we close our public hearing, we'll let the council address you directly.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Any other public comments for this development? Okay. Any public comments against this rezoning? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pat Lowe, and what else do you need my address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I live at 3536 Bermuda Drive, but I own a house at 2625 Edward Street, where my son lives. And my concern is this, I guess I'm neither for or against at this point, but my question is this: when I first saw that it was going to be on Edward Street, it looks like it's right next door to my property, to my house. And my house faces Kilgore Memorial Drive, even though I'm on Edward Street, but the house faces the street. And so I wanted to know, are we going to be looking out our front window now at a convenience store? Because I think it's right next to us.
Would you like to see this map?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
is this Google? Is that helping
I
you?
can't really, all I know is I'm 2625.
Okay.
And I think that's 2605, and that's residential. And so I wouldn't like to see, my house right here and right next door to me is a convenience store.
May I approach you?
I'm sorry?
May I approach you and show you this?
Sure.
Okay.
While you're doing that, Council President, can I ask Council London a question, please?
Yes.
Council London, where exactly, I know you're familiar with this area up top.
Right.
From Little Bit's house, where and your old church, where exactly is this?
It will be facing, if this place is built, she will be looking out the window at the back of this convenience store.
Where is it from the church?
2
That's on the
blocks.
corner.
It's 2 blocks, next to the business across from the church.
The business across from
It'll
the
be
church?
on the right side of that.
If you're facing the
If you're
business,
facing that
it's on the
business.
right side?
Mhm.
Okay.
This is where this is proposed to be,
So you pass Little Bit Street and you keep going, and it's to the right of that
to
business?
the left, to the building.
Huh?
Yeah, to the right of that building.
To the right of that building?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so that's my question. Is it gonna be some kind of buffer, or what are the plans so that we don't look at that?
Mr. Graham, would you like to address her and answer maybe her question?
Yes, I think your house is right here. You've got Dixon Street that's behind you. So your house really
the front. Our house faces this way.
It faces this way.
That is correct.
faces Dixon Street. You've got, these lots are not going to be disturbed. These lots are not going to be disturbed. So you've got,
ours down here too.
that's what I mean, unless you grade them down, you've got these trees and all that you've got on your lots here. You're not going, if you do the lighting right, which they will, I don't see where it's a problem because it is west of you. Your house faces this way.
Right.
And you've got the Dixon Street, and you've got these lots that you own here.
How much distance is
This about, from where your house is to this corner, it's about 180 feet. turnout will be on here. It's the turnout's coming into the property. So it's going to be a residential.
My concern.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Rod.
My concern is this, I really don't want to look at the back of a convenience store. I want to make, I don't have a problem with us doing commercial things. I own a business in Irondale. I've owned a business here for 30 years, and I understand how important that is. And so I don't want to stop commercial development. I know we need that. But also, I own 2 houses in Irondale. And I want to make sure, because when we built the house there, we built it as a residence, as a community. We love it there. And so I don't want to be able to look out of our front windows. And, our house sits up high. It sits up higher than what the property is. Right, because when when it's winter, I can already see the street. So I don't see how in the world I'm going to miss that. And that's going to be our front view, is the back of a convenience store.
The way the topography of the land is, it's going up, and that convenience store is going to go even further down. So you're going to be looking over it, probably, but from your house now, I think you look more at Thibodeau's property.
Where the lake was, across the street. Can you see that from there? Yeah, we can see
You're
that.
looking down further east than this is. This property is more up to the west
Okay.
than this is.
Like 100 feet, 180 feet, I don't know.
It's going to be hard to say we were visualized without.
Boundary to boundary.
Right.
So really,
Yeah.
Her line of sight unless she's able to look
Okay.
straight.
Our property actually goes all the way to the end, though. I think it goes all the way to the street. So it would be right next to where this is that what you're saying? It'd be right next, yeah.
All right.
So I have a concern about it. I wish that I could see more of what it will look like from where we're looking, because it's, that's our home, that's a residence to us. And so not trying to stop what you're doing, but also I don't want us to be, in the middle of this to lose our home, so.
4 feet from here to here, plus we have topography, descent, a huge descent topography, right?
She's not gonna see it.
Yeah, I think she'll look right over it, honestly.
those lots are commercial all the time.
Okay.
They're not zoned that way,
Mhm.
but from the original plans, the comprehensive study
Right.
is that.
Let me ask you this, so what you're saying is that nobody could build a building right next to us because that will remain residential, is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am, those 2 lots there are residential. What these people are planning to do is to put a sewer line down from up here and market these 2 lots as residential lots. So they're gonna have 2 houses behind it.
But if we zone it, if they approve that and we zone it for commercial, what keeps them from building 5 years ago, forgetting that we had this meeting?
No, ma'am, you can't. This only pertains to this lot. It has nothing to do with these lots.
Okay, even though it's showing 2605 Edwards,
That's
which is
fine.
ours,
The
our street.
post office years ago, that property came from, Edward Street.
Mhm.
And when they put the new Grants Mill Road in, this was 3 different parcels. These 2 parcels still have this address up here. This parcel will have an address on Grants Mill Road. These parcels are not being zoned or asked to be zoned.
Okay, and to me, do you understand my confusion though? Because it is saying on there, 2605 Edwards, which is right next door to my property.
Right, but
So-
it's not, the zoning does not encompass that. We had to use that address because the post office had set that address up years ago off of that circle. And when this lot came in and this was subdivided, this lot will face Grants Mill Road and it'll have a Grants Mill Road address.
Okay, and that's
These
where
2
they're
lots up
building,
here will stay like they are.
and that's where they're building the
Yes,
convenience
ma'am,
store.
down here, not up here next to you.
Okay. Well, your objection is noted. I understand there's some ambiguity there. Y'all are more than welcome to continue to talk after this meeting and everything, but we need to go home with any other objections. Understood? All right.
I have a quick question for Ms. Lowe.
Okay.
Does your backyard face Kilgore Memorial? Is that the house that you're referring to?
That's my front door that faces Kilgore.
That's your front door that faces
Even though
Kilgore.
yeah, my address is 2625 Edward Street, it's similar to what he's saying.
Right.
Because even though I have an Edward Street address, the front of my house will be looking at the back of this building.
Okay, all right. That's what I need to get cleared up.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we're looking for any other comments against this rezoning. Yes, ma'am?
I'm Donna Pike, and I live at 440 East Ventura Drive. And I really am not for it or against it. I just have a great concern. I travel that road quite often. And I also travel my little section of Highway 11, and I also travel to Center Point. And I just thought that we might have something besides convenience stores and gas stations in our main thoroughfare, you know, from 459 to Highway 78. Not that I have anything against convenience stores, but, you know, I agree with Ms. Lowe. You know, it's going, I don't know, it said, what did you say, Mr.? What did you say about it? It's 3 acres?
No, ma'am, it's 2 acres.
2 acres. And so I don't know what else, you know, would be attractive to developers. I mean, you know, but for 2 acres. But I do have a concern about how our main thoroughfare is going to look with convenience stores, and those kinds of businesses are extremely contagious. And so that's my concern.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments against this rezoning? All right. That being said, we'll go ahead and close out our public hearing. Councilors, now it's your opportunity to engage Ross directly and ask him any questions. Councilman London?
Yes, quick question. You say convenience store. What are we talking about when you say convenience store?
Convenience store, gasoline pumps.
That's what I was afraid of.
Well,
Here's my point. Say gasoline pump. We already have one past which is a convenient gasoline store. We have one down at the bottom of the hill, Shell. We have Chevrons coming across the hill. We have Raceway supposedly coming further down, Exxon, Chevron. I think we have enough gas pumps in Irondale, and I agree with Sister Pike. That Grants Mill Road is priceless, it's precious piece of property, and I think that convenience store is not where we need to go with that piece of property. Secondly, you're here to get a zoning change from residential. So do you need the zoning change to residential, and why do you need the zoning change, which is already zoned commercial, right? Did you say that?
it's not zone commercial, it's zone R4.
It's R2 and
It's
R3.
The whole property is zone R2, R4, even what you're trying to build on?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what we're changing.
My own personal opinion, and I've heard from all of my people around that area, constituents, is a term I've heard a lot this year, is that no one wants this in their front door. Nobody wants to look at a convenience store out the front door. Nobody wants a convenience store in their backyard. And so I have to respect that from them. That's because they blow my phone up from that part. But I just don't think this is the place for a convenience store on this part of the property, because this is precious. We only get one chance to develop this. We only get one opportunity to this, and this is precious.
You're saying that we have enough gas stations.
I think we got plenty of gas stations.
we not?
Okay, when you got this Project X that everybody's talking about, are you gonna allow them to have gas pumps?
It's not on Grants Mill Road. Well, we're not talking about Project X, we're talking about your property.
Point of order, guys, point of order.
Hey, sir.
Please.
Sir, we're not talking about Project X, we're talking about your property. And we're talking about on Grants Mill, let me finish. And we're not talking about anything but what we're talking about. That's all we're talking about. And my opinion is, I don't think we need a convenience store at that piece of property, and that's my comment.
Thank you, Councilman London. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Did P and Z look at this?
They did, yes.
What was their recommendation?
It was approved. It was recommended up by P&Z.
Council President, can I say that it was approved by P&Z, It was 8-1, and I was the only one that voted against it.
Thank you for that clarification. I was trying to remember the notes. Do you have any other follow-up questions, Councilwoman Quayle?
No.
Okay.
That was,
Okay. Councilman Box,
Just simply because of my newbiness, I'll say this.
is your mic on?
What I see here is if we have a brand-new, more upscale convenience store, the shell is in bad disrepair. I don't even count that as a place I feel safe stopping, the one at Kilgore Drive and Grants Mill Road. Moving up the hill toward Old Leeds, do we have another convenience store in that direction before we get to Old Leeds?
We do.
We got a liquor store with a gas station.
We got a liquor store, but
It's a
not a
convenience store.
convenience store. And it's, once again, it's not a very, I would say, welcoming place. It's a little more dilapidated than maybe I would feel comfortable going myself. Crossing Old Leeds, and we know we're gonna have a wonderful new store there. And then once we cross 459, we've got one on the other side. Is the one on the other side ours, Mayor? Across
side
from
is
the
that,
Automall,
Councilman
the other
Box?
Convenience store?
Hmm?
The convenience store on the other side of the freeway, is it Irondale?
There's one gas station that's across from the Auto Mall.
Yes, sir.
You have the new gas station that's
Being
being built up from the Auto Mall.
Mercedes.
And you have the Shell on Grants Mill
And
Road.
Kilgore, correct?
You have the raceway that's proposed
Racetrack.
coming to
20th
20th Street here. You turn the corner, you got a Chevron and you got an Exxon. So you have about 7 gas stations / convenience stores within a 1 mile, 1.5 mile area, which, as I stated when it was doing the P&Z, I stated the same thing. Do we want our city to be a proliferation of gas stations?
Oh, I understand that, but what I'm also seeing too is Exxon is quite old, Chevron quite old, Shell Station antiquated and really not comfortable. We've already had some high crime and very heavy issues there. We got one brand new one that's gonna be great. Do we have a timeline on the raceway?
Racetrack.
it's racetrack.
Do we have a timeline on that?
We don't know because they're wanting, they're
Have
wanting-
you studied
Racetrack.
that, Ross, any due diligence on a timeline of racetrack?
Councilman Box, Racetrack is planning on coming back to the city because they have a new redesign for their station, and they want to bring it back to the city through P&Z and then through the council to see if they can get their new design approved.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
I do have a follow-up.
One second. Councilman Box has the floor.
Sorry.
Okay, very well.
Thank you.
So, I guess that, with that, Ross, have you done any, or has your prospective eyes done any due diligence on these stores and their age and their thoughts of renovations?
Yes, sir, they have, and you're talking about a racetrack. The reason they're coming back is because they wanna bring trucks in there. We voided that to start with, and now they're coming back and wanting to bring trucks into that convenience store.
So it really would not be
You know,
in
we lost
conflict.
Sam's, we get our money from our paving from these convenience stores and gas stations.
Let me
I think
question
he-
you
I
real
think he
quick
have
on a
already-
point, sir.
you've already
When you're
spoken.
saying they're wanting to bring trucks into racetrack, now, I'm not sure if they talked to the mayor about that, but the store you're talking about is not a truck stop.
No.
All right, very good. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm concerned about the residential property that this particular convenience store is going to be next to. I'm also concerned because the Shell gas station that's located on the corner of Kilgore and Grants Mill, it serves its purpose, and I live in that area, so there's crime everywhere. So we don't want to target a business that's in Irondale and saying, oh, so many things happen there. Things happen everywhere. So I do respect, your opinion as far as the Shell gas station, but, I just, like I say, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm just concerned about another convenience store here. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Quayle, you had a
I
follow-up
did have
question?
a follow-up, and that is on the convenience store. I know there's a lot of tax revenue. Do you have an estimate of what that would generate based on the studies that you've done?
No, ma'am, because you don't know, you get it zoned, you start seeing how much property, what you're gonna be able to put exactly on the property. But the zoning is the first step to do that. And you can't project it without knowing what you got, building plans and that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
me follow up with that. What do those types of stores generally bring in? That type of store?
I don't know because I don't own one, but I wouldn't have any idea. I mean, y'all know that from the tax records, that you've got sales tax on others.
Councilwoman Cuellar, I think I can answer that question. First of all, we don't receive direct funding from the selling of gas. All of that money goes to Jefferson County, and then based on your population, we receive a check from gas that is sold throughout the
I wasn't referring to the
county.
gas.
Huh?
I wasn't referring to the gas. I was
No,
referring to
I'm
the
getting there. Let me
convenience.
get there. I'm getting there. A convenience store generates less than $100,000 of revenue, City of Irondale.
Thank you. Are we prepared to move on to our next public hearing?
Just one comment also.
Yes, sir.
I think we forgot the other 3 gas stations up 78. I think we didn't count those.
Understood
Those 3.
and noted. Are we prepared to move on to our next public hearing?
Yes, I am.
Outstanding. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the City Council to hear comments from interested citizens concerning the proposed rezoning of the property located at 2410 2nd Avenue North, Irondale, Alabama 35210, from an R2 to an I1 light industrial district. All right. So that being said, Chief, have you had a chance to flip that over yet? All right. Once again, Chief McDaniel is going to flip that over so everyone can see the location of it. Yeah, yes. I guess you being able to see what you're doing is probably important. Yeah, sure, of course. Thank you.
I believe this is close to Ellett Park.
Yes, matter of fact, that green.
Okay.
spot
That's green at Ellett Park, right?
Yeah. All right.
All right, so at this time, we would look for any citizens in favor of this rezoning. Do we have anyone, do we have the gentleman who is asking for, yes, this would be your turn, sir.
Yes, so my name is William Randall. I own the property at 2410 2nd Avenue North. It's right across the train tracks here, and it borders Eller Park to the northwest, I believe that is. And so one of the, I don't remember the gentleman's name from the zoning board, recommended I do light industrial to erect a medium-sized commercial greenhouse to do plant propagation in a small nursery greenhouse operation. Now, he said light industrial was more appropriate because I would be propagating rather than being a florist, is the way he put it, which I just see as wholesale to retail rather than propagation on site, wholesale to the public. You know, I'm not sure if this was the best route to go. We'll see, you know, what everyone here thinks about it. But basically, the residential feel of this property would not change. If anything, it would be enhanced. I think this property is pretty valuable in terms of its adjacency to Eller Park. It has potential to add a walkability to Eller Park from First Avenue North. As it stands right now, the rail yard knocked down, you know, a 100-year-old tree stand, which really opened up that portion of Irondale to see the whole rail yard. I'm not really sure, I'm interested myself, like what their plans for that property is. But this would also kind of, you know, again, it was advised to me to make it light industrial rather than, say, an adjustment of a residential to allow a greenhouse. Or, you know, if I'm reading the zoning, A1 is what, you know, allows a greenhouse. But that would be a step down, I feel like, rather than moving forward. So, that's basically it. I would be propagating mainly culinary herbs, perennial flowers, annual flowers, trees and shrubs, landscape material, and it would be a kind of a landscape material supply and wholesale nursery, open to the public, either off-site or on-site, either during normal business hours or on Saturdays, so I'm up to different interpretations of, what I want this property to become and how it could be, implemented through the city. But that's about it. If y'all have any questions, I'd feel free to ask. And, again, this may not be the right course and might have to figure out a different way, either through an adjustment or rezoning of other type. But yeah, so that's about it.
Perfect. I appreciate you articulating the difference and why you were chosen, why it was chosen for you to go the I route. I remember hearing some of Butch's comments to you and everything like that, and that seemed at the time to be the best zoning.
Right.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens tonight, and we'll see if we need to go another route or something like that. But one thing I wanted to, before I open it up for public comments further, is it was mentioned during that planning and zoning board, and for the people that are curious, this did pass planning and zoning. It was recommended up. And it was asked of you at the time if you would take a look through the industrial zoning and basically strike out all of the various. There's a lot of stuff in industrial.
Yeah, I mean it's like talking about junk and smokestacks.
Right.
And you can do this and that.
Right.
That's not anything near. My pursuit on this property. If anything, this is a chance for me as a horticultural professional to showcase this would be a showcase property. Flowers, trees, walking paths, garden beds. I mean, just basically an aesthetic value added property.
Sure.
So, industrial kind of did catch me off guard, but I've just kind of gone with the process.
Right. So for the consideration of this item, one thing I just want to kind of hear you say back in response is there's a lot of those things, and I don't want to sit here and read off every single thing that's in industrial, but I need you to go on record and say that all of that stuff that does not basically apply to your nursery and legal counsel, if I need to word this a different way, please inform me, but we need to get that right now.
Right.
If we're going to, when we decide on this.
Well, the thing is, in that language, I never saw greenhouse. So greenhouse is not in the language at all.
Right.
The only place that is mentioned is A1. So basically, I would be light industrial, but not light industrial. So
right.
So again, it's really up to y'all.
Okay.
I'm just kind of taking y'all's lead. In
Sure.
ways, so.
Hang tight for me for a second, if you would. Miss April, is there a better way that I need to be wording these exclusions so that we can consider this holistically?
Do I understand correctly that you want him to only operate the flower horticultural facility on this particular parcel and not anything else that could go in an I-1?
Correct.
Then what I think that I would do is I would recommend when an actual motion is made that the zoning be approved subject to the fact that it be operated only as and then specify what that would be.
Outstanding. We're taking notes on council's advice? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your time and your clarification.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, anybody else for this rezoning? For this rezoning? Yes, ma'am.
Can I just stand here or do I need to come to
I think your voice carries, Ms. Pike.
It's very exciting, and thank you. And I hope at some point that you would consider maybe giving classes to children, growing a garden, and extend it to Ellard Park. The sky's the limit.
So yeah, I've actually taught many classes already. So I've taught at the Botanical Gardens downtown, or in Mountain Brook. But downtown Jones Valley Farm, a lot of my friends work there. My good friend is the farm manager, so I volunteer with them. They have school gardens all throughout Jefferson County. But yeah, that would be something I definitely want to bring into it, is community engagement. Because again, this property is open to Ellard Park. That would increase walkability access, and that's one thing I would hope to be able to provide. That property is also very historic, so that house is pre-1910. When I looked at the records on the bottom floor at the courthouse, it had a survey in about 1939 saying that they estimated the home to be 40 years old in 1939. So that makes the home built in 1899, which is probably one of the first buildings in this area. So I intend to preserve that house and to renovate it with, the 20th century in mind, the early 20th century.
Well, I'll just have to tell you, I would have never known that potatoes grew in the ground had it not been for my grandfather.
Yeah.
So, it's very important.
Yeah, and I think it's part of our history in Irondale. I mean, it was agricultural, startup town. It's railroad, but there's a lot of agricultural influence.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments for this rezoning? Any comments against this rezoning? No comments against? One moment. Chief, I know you got that.
I've not had any.
You haven't had any on either?
On either one.
Okay, cool, thank you. All right, so that would close our public hearing on this item. So now we would move into our comments from the council. Councilman London, any questions about this rezoning?
I just missed his name. What was his name? I just missed his name.
Sir?
Randall.
Randall? Mr. William Randall, okay.
William Randall, okay.
Thank you. He was just asking for your name.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments, Councilman London?
That's it.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Other than that, I did drive out to the property and took a look at it, and the only concern I had was the house that's right next door to the property. But as long as we're gonna have what we need to add to this, which will be a resolution, that we add that language, because I was concerned that if you should go on and move somewhere else, and that's I-1, that anybody can come in and set up anything, and I would be concerned about the neighborhood, what it would do to that residential neighborhood.
Well, I think,
Right, as long as we add that language, I'm fine
make
with
sure
it.
that the language is clear that
Yeah.
this is not really allowing basically all of the language in I-1, but it's creating a pathway for me to do my
Yes.
horticultural, agricultural kind of pursuit on
Yes.
the property. Concerning that house next door, there was a privacy fence. I don't know if y'all have remembered this property through the last few years, but it was, totally encapsulated with shrubbery. I've done a whole lot in terms of clearing and getting the property kind of ready for something, either a renovation and resale or what I'm talking about here. But there was a privacy fence there, and I intend to add some brick privacy fences around that front perimeter. In the back, I know I can go to 6 feet, but in the front, 3 or 4. I can't remember what that ordinance is. But I plan to kind of, define the space and to add privacy for those neighbors.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
Yeah, what is the size of your parcel?
It's 1.3 acres.
Okay, and the existing structure, you intend to leave, you have a square footage on that it occupies?
I think it's about 1,100 square feet.
Right.
Now, one thing about this is, that house, again, is kind of in a state of needing a lot of repair and renovation. And I would just repair it and renovate it as a residential home. And I guess my question is, would this allow someone to reside in the home in light industrial or no?
I'm actually unsure of that. I know at P&Z, I believe you said you didn't have any interest in living in the house because you have another residence. Is that accurate?
No, so I
Okay.
mean, I could absolutely live in the house, you know, and potentially want to, but it's not a requirement.
Understood.
If for the only way for me to be able to do this is that the house has to be a non-residence, then I would.
Understood.
But I just wanted to know. I'm not sure.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I took the floor away from you. I apologize.
My final question would be then, what is the size of the footprint of your proposed greenhouse?
It's 16 by 36. I believe that was maybe 18 by 36. I can't remember. One of those.
All right, so you're actually saying that you're not considering using that existing structure as an office building or a classroom? or
Well,
something?
if it was non-residence, then yes, it would be used as a accessory dwelling in a sense that, yeah, multi-use, office, storage, classes, absolutely, yeah.
I think that's what we build into it.
Okay. Councilman Wilson?
Councilman Box asked my question, actually. So,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so we've closed that public hearing. We're satisfied with our answers. We can move on to our next public hearing, correct? All right. Stay with me on this one. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the city council to hear comments from interested citizens concerning the authorization by the city pursuant to amendment number 772 of the Constitution of Alabama of 1901 as amended of the terms of the certain Second Amendment to project development, funding and cooperation agreement by the city and JJA Properties, AL LLC and BIJ Motors Alabama LLC pursuant to the Second Amendment and in consideration for the public benefits to accrue from the developer's establishment and operation of such dealerships and facilities in the city. The city will make economic development payments to the developer for the net sales tax proceeds actually received by the city from the upscale Mercedes-Benz automobile dealership and facilities established by the developer at 750 Mercedes Way off Grants Mill Road in the maximum aggregate amount of $10 million for a period of 20 years. So I'm going to break this down a little bit as best I can, and Mayor and legal, please correct me if I misstep here. There was a previous deal for the Mercedes-Benz dealership that was struck 5 years ago. There were some language in there that did not allow Mercedes to recoup their expenses as quickly as they anticipated. There was a shortfall anticipated on their ability to recoup the $10 million within the first 10 years. So we all came back together, and basically we're still allowing them to recoup the $10 million through tax abatements, but due to the miscalculations with the math and the contract, we are extending that time out for a total of 20 years, which is basically, since we're having to kind of redo this right now, it's basically a 15-year contract. Am I reading that right, council?
How long have they been paying now?
2018.
They have been paying since, or they have been receiving economic incentives since 2018. So that would be a 3-year agreement so far. So we would be adding, taking that to a total of 20 years. I would like to defer to my also co-counsel, Coy, who is one of my partners, to see if there's anything else he would like to add to it.
Okay. Please, sir, thank you. Yes, sir, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I believe you covered everything. It is extending it from, it was originally 10 years, now it's 20 years. I think that the actual incentive period, though, is going to end up being much shorter. The incentive period is defined as the shorter of the payment of $10 million, or it was 10 years, now it's 20 years from the day of the agreement. But again, I think the $10 million is going to be paid much sooner than the 20 years.
And it's whichever comes first, basically.
Correct.
Outstanding.
Yeah, the intent of the original agreement was that they received $10 million, and the estimates were that they would receive that in less than 10 years.
Right.
But the way the actual payments were working, based on what you mentioned earlier, it was going to take longer.
And I was looking at the original contract date, which had 16 on it. That's where I got the
Yes.
5 from.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you for clearing for that up, both of y'all. All right. That being said, we're in a public hearing. We're looking for any comments in favor of this. Yes, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. Any comments in favor of this agreement? Yes, sir.
Paul Saucier, 1113 Cloudcrest Drive. Just so, I mean, it sounds like we're giving the city's giving $10 million. And just so everybody can understand, the city is not giving Mercedes $10 million, right? Mercedes charges sales tax, and we let them keep the sales tax until they apply $10 million towards the development of that property. But at the point that they finally get the $10 million back, we get a level piece of property with a nice building that somebody wants to have a car dealership on, and they couldn't get the $10 million worth of sales taxes within 10 years given back to them. So what we're doing is we're letting them have longer than 10 years. It doesn't mean it's going to take 20 years. It could mean it takes 13, 14, 16, 17 years. Based on how fast they sell cars, they get their sales tax to keep in their pocket. But as soon as that $10 million is up, we get the sales tax from there on out. That's the end of the deal. So the next thing on the next parcel we're going to talk about, we're not giving the next people $6.4 million, right? We're letting them keep their sales tax. You go buy whatever you're going to buy, they get to pocket the sales tax, but we are going to have that structure in Irondale for years and years to come. So I am all for extending that term and letting them have the $10 million with the sales tax.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Any other comments for this agreement? For this agreement? Any comments against this agreement? Nothing against. We'll close our public hearing. Councilman Linden?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
Just to restate the question, I think the mayor might could give me some guidance on that. Now, Mayor, when he said they keep the sales tax, they keep it only a portion, isn't that correct?
Yes, that's the way that the tax rebate agreement is structured is that Mercedes is supposed to receive $10 million over a 20-year period. If they get to $10 million first, before they get to the 20 years, then that ends everything. Currently, the way that the agreement is structured is that Mercedes receives 66 2/3 and the city receives 1/3. So Mercedes is not receiving all of the money, number one. Number two, Mercedes is not keeping all of the sales tax. Mercedes remits the sales tax to the city of Irondale, and then on a monthly basis, the city of Irondale then writes a check to Mercedes based on the 66 2/3 that they're supposed to receive from the agreement, and the city keeps 1/3 of the revenue that comes in.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that clarification, sir.
Councilman Wilson?
Right.
Thank you, Mayor. I've heard it so many times, but thank you.
I think we've all heard it so many times we forget.
Yes.
That's others haven't. Thank you very much, Mayor. All right, so we're satisfied with our questions. We can move on to our next public hearing, yes? All right. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the City Council to hear comments from interested citizens concerning the authorization by the city pursuant to Amendment Number 772 to the Constitution of Alabama of 1901 as amended of the terms of the certain amend and restated project development funding and corporation agreement HEP Leads project by the city and HEP Leads LLC pursuant to the agreement and in consideration of the public benefits to accrue from the establishment and by the operation of such commercial and retail development and facilities by the developer in the city will make economic development payments to the developer of the net sales tax proceeds actually received by the city from the development established by the developer at Old Lead Roads, Grants Mill Road, in the maximum aggregate amount of $6.4 million for a period of 10 years. And I will I'll break that down the best I understand it, which is a very, very similar situation as Mr. Saucier just spoke away. We're not giving them money, so they're selling goods. They're making sales tax for the city. A portion of those sales tax are going back for a certain amount of time, with the dollar amount being $6.4 million over 10 years, whichever comes first. So the way I understand that, if I may break down the percentages based on what we spoke about, would be the target number is 6.4 million over the course of 10 years. The split is 60-40 for the first 5, 60 to the organization, 40 to the city. And then after the 5th year, it's a 50-50 split through the remainder of the 10 years, unless the 6.4 million is reached. Okay, so that, anything you want to add to that, Mayor?
No, you did an excellent job explaining it. I just wanted to let everyone know that we really had to rework this whole agreement, because the initial agreement was for $4.8 million. However, it was a 10-year period, but the city for the first 4 years would not receive $1. So I just couldn't allow us to enter into an agreement that for 4 years, we would have a nice shiny grocery store sitting there on the corner, but every day I went home, I would get an opportunity to say to myself, wow, we got a nice grocery store, but we're not receiving any money from it. So we had an opportunity to be able to rework this agreement, because the developer sent a letter to me about 3 weeks ago saying that they needed an additional $1.8 million for site work to be able to make this deal work. At that time, we began to create a development agreement. Ms. April went through the process. Matter of fact, the developer told me that the agreement was so red when he got it back that they didn't realize that this was the initial agreement. So also I want to thank April as well, because she's been working all day on getting this agreement done so that we can have the proposed grocery store here in the city of Irondale. So the developer and I came to an agreement that we would do a 60-40 split the first 4 years instead of the city receiving $0. And that over the next 5 to 10 years, or 6 to 10 years, we will be able to split it 50-50. So that's why we have this agreement in front of us, because they approached the city for an additional $1.8 million to be able to make this development deal work.
Thank you, Mayor. So with it being described and clarified, I would take any comments for this agreement. If we can just have your name and address, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bert Boykin. My address is 2001 Park Place North, Suite 540, Birmingham, Alabama, 35203. I'm here on behalf of the developer, Hep Leads. I won't plow the ground that's already been covered, but to give you a little bit of an idea about the site work that was recently discovered, it's all related to blasting and rock removal, construction of retaining walls. So that's what the additional money will be put to use for. We will undergo about a 7-month period in which we're going to exclusively be blasting, removing rock to get the site to a baseline level to where construction can begin. So it's a significant amount, or a large undertaking. That is exactly the basis for this amendment and restructuring. I've been the one on the other end of all the red line, and I appreciate Ms. Danielson, the mayor, and the council here tonight coming together and considering this on short notice. I have Nathan Spence, one of our engineers, with me this evening. We're here to answer any questions that the council might have, and we do appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Any other comments in favor of this agreement? Yes, sir.
I'm in favor.
Outstanding. Any other comments in favor for this agreement? All right. Any comments not in favor for this agreement? All right. One moment. Chief, have we had any comments on the previous two? Okay. Okay, understood. Thank you. All right, so we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman London, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Councilwoman Cuellar.
Yeah, there was one thing. We got the revised agreement from our legal counsel, And as I was looking at the agreement that we received over the weekend on page 2, and that's where I just need a little clarification. On page 2, when we talk about the economic incentives grant, it says means an amount equal to 50% of the tax revenue during each annual period, beginning with the incentive commencement date. And now we have 60%. So that was the one thing that I noticed, that we have 60%, and then we break it down for a period of 5 years, and then 50% the remaining 5 years. So that is the one change that we made.
Correct. That first draft was just sent so y'all would not be flat-footed on
Okay.
on this, and that was one of the changes that we made as late as like 4 p.m. today.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Councilman Box?
It's gonna be an off-the-wall question, but I'm sorry, just once again, kind of chuck it up to my newbies. For the engineer, what kind of studies have we done with all the blasting of how it might affect our deep water wells?
This is Nathan Spence. I live at 5615 9th Avenue South. That's a good question. I can look into that. But all the blasting that would be done would be in accordance with any sort of standard, construction practices, and they would pull any permits that they would need, to have that done. So.
Okay, very well, thank you. That was it.
Councilman Wilson?
I'm gonna take a page from out of Councilor London's book. If or after this is passed, when do you anticipate moving some dirt?
I knew where that was going.
I think they're
About
targeting for
September.
fall, so they're
Fall?
they're hoping to close here pretty soon.
Thank you.
We might be able to officially learn what the name of this established might be publicly soon, possibly.
Also, they may not be moving dirt at that point, like Bert said. They'll be doing a lot of blasting and rock.
Moving rock.
That-
Yeah.
There will be stuff
That's
moving.
moving something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be stuff moving.
There'll be some
All right.
bulldozers up there, right?
Yeah.
So those are our 4 public hearings. Now we come to the approval of the agenda. Before we go and do that, we're just going to run through them real quick. Ordained ordinance 2021. So these first 2 items regard the rezoning. Our third item will be, we'll break for executive session, and then we will return. So the fourth item is Resolution 2021-46 that authorizes Mayor James Stewart to execute the Second Amendment for the project development. This is the JJA properties, the third public hearing we had. And then the fifth resolution is the one that we just spoke on. Item number 6 is 2021-48, authorizes the execution of a lease agreement with Freshwater Land Trust to provide for a canoe launch recreational facility within the city. We'll go ahead and stop right there. Councilman London, do you have any questions about that item?
No question.
No questions there? Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions, they were all answered.
Outstanding. Councilman Box?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Wilson?
I'm good.
All right, and I am good as well. Would we be willing to possibly put item number 6 on consent?
Yes.
I'm good.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson, you're good?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we'll double check here in a second. So right now, we've got item 6 on consent. Item number 7, resolve that Resolution 2021-49 approves the purchase of an EMS transport vehicle for the Irondale Fire Department. We've got a few people that want to speak on that. Mayor, may I ask Chief McDaniel to bring up his guest tonight?
That's fine.
Okay, perfect. Chief, if you'd be willing to introduce who you have with us tonight and walk us through this resolution.
Well, I have 3 people here tonight. There's Anthony White from Williams Fire Apparatus. There's Chief Buddy Wilkes from Cahaba Valley Fire. And then I have Chris Willis, who is the Chief of Staff for Commissioner Jimmy Stevens for Jefferson County. This resolution is for us to to go ahead and purchase a demo unit, transport unit that is ready, could go on the road as soon as a few things are done. When we saw this coming, you know, there was not such a big issue with chassis for the car manufacturers. I have some printouts actually for you guys to kind of talk about the computer chip shortages and what's going on with the ambulance industry. This is a nationwide thing with vehicles. So we're anticipating at least 6 to 7 months before our vehicles that we've signed a contract on that are spec'd out to be here. So what this would do was for us to purchase this unit and use it, begin transporting, and to be able to start collecting for those transports. And when our 2 spec units come in that we spec'd for Irondale Fire, that we would sell this unit, sell it back, and get most of the money back. We could take a small loss. We may not take any loss. But the important piece to have Chief Wilkes here today is Cahaba Valley Fire has had to pick up majority of the transporting for Irondale Fire in the last month especially. In the last month alone, they've responded to 104 calls within the city, EMS calls, and made 61 transports. Whereas the private ambulance that we previously had, we have not stopped calling them. Our dispatch, their protocol is to still call them first, but they've had 14 transports within the last month. For Chief Wilkes to continue to be able to do this, he has to staff this truck overtime, so have his employees to work overtime and to use their vehicles to come do this. So for him to continue to be able to do that, they're going to propose a contract for the city to go into, which would cost us, in his estimates, were about $16,000 a month. So if we do the math on 6 to 8 to 9 months, we could pay upwards of $96,000. Whereas if we get the transport unit and we can resell that unit at 6 months, we could be in for a lot less money than paying that. They still are more than happy to back us up, but to be our primary transport and to say they can guarantee they have a truck every day, they're going to have to staff a truck specifically for Irondale. So I wanted him to be here tonight for that. Williams Fire Apparatus, Anthony White, he is the dealer for the transport unit. We actually have that unit is here tonight if anybody wants to see it. And then Chris Willis, he has been doing these studies for Jefferson County on the issue. This is, I said nationwide, but we know, locally, countywide, there's a huge issue with transports and availability, and he could get more into what he sees, if need be, some of the things where we're seeing, anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 hour response times in some areas of the county for an ambulance on some very serious type calls, chest pains, gunshot wounds, possible strokes, possible heart attacks. So I just had him to come tonight in case anyone wanted to ask those questions to understand how serious the situation is getting everywhere, but specifically within the county and within Irondale. And so the proposals for us to get this truck and go ahead and start making some transports with Cahaba Valley's help to back us up, but to get this going and to save the city some money long term. Up front, it seems like a good bit, but in the 6 to 7 months when we could resell this truck and gain most of the money back, whatever. Even if we took a $10,000 loss, that's $10,000 versus paying $16,000 a month to do that. So. And it's put a big stress on Chief Wilkes' department as well, because he's having to find people, and people that he had to come in to respond to Cahaba Valley Fire Department's calls are responding to Irondale probably some days more than they're responding to people in their own district. So, that would be like having our employees come here and then responding to another city on more calls than they do within the city that's paying them. So.
So the way I understand it is, we've already approved the resolution for you guys to lease some trucks. You got 2 on the way. You've got about 6 or so months delay before we get that. In the meantime, in order to continue EMS transport in the manner in which we're doing, it would most likely require a $16,000 monthly contract, and that's where you're getting the $90,000 number from. So your idea is in the short term to go ahead and purchase this, and while our transport vehicles are being spec'd out and delivered to us, and then sell that on the backside for surplus, and then try to recoup some of those funds. That's what I'm hearing.
That is correct.
Okay, cool. I just want to double check. Councilman London?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah, the only concern I had was making sure that we weren't in breach of contract, and all of that was covered by our legal attorney. Always felt one would be a good one to start with, and so as long as we're not in a breach of contract, which we won't be, because we're going to turn around and sell it, I'm fine.
Good deal, thank you.
Councilman Box?
I think we talked earlier, but we are staffed right now to where we could put people in that vehicle right away.
By the time that we get this, because like I said, we go forward, of course, they will have to put lettering that says Irondale Fire and Rescue. And we have already contacted the state about what we need to, because the state, at that point, we were waiting on a VIN number. So once they get that, we have to get the equipment on it inspected by the state. So by the time we get those done within, I would say, a couple to a few weeks, the personnel that we have been hiring will be here and ready to go. So we'll be able to make this work with the personnel, because we've already been working on the personnel to get them in here and acclimated to the department before we try to throw new employees and 2 new transport units that were coming. So we're trying to get people in and get some acclimation. I will say through the hiring process, we have hired some new employees that are just new to the fire service in general, have some EMS experience, but we've had some people that want to come to the city of Irondale from other jurisdictions that have some very good background in transporting and EMS. So we've, the things that are going on with the city and with the department, people are hearing about and wanted to come to Irondale. So we've actually had some that come from other jurisdictions, and we're getting some experience that will be able to help a lot with that as well.
And not to belabor the point, because I think you shared about response time, but what is the actual distance that Cahaba Valley has to travel to get to the city limits?
That can depend, and I would actually probably lean to Chief Wilkes from the Rex Lake Station to, would say most calls is, how many minutes would you say uses you guys? I mean,
just depends on where you're going to. Depends on where you're going into Irondale.
Okay.
That's far too, because mostly our Rex Lake Station, which is at Secret Hollow Road and Ranch Mill Road is where they're located. That's the primary truck that's coming, but if they're not available, we try to move a truck up from 280 station up to that location if they're not available. But there's times the trucks have to respond from Highway 280 into, the truck from 280 has responded here all the way to the Meadow Apartments and the Trussell area.
Oh my goodness, okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Wilson?
Yeah, 2 questions. Was that the white vehicle that I saw in front of the fire station number 1, I guess?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
the white one?
It's the white one, and it's actually outside to the side if
outside.
anybody wants to see before we leave tonight.
That's what I thought. What is the cost of this short-term purchase? I may have missed something. What's the cost of it? Did we talk about that?
33.
I think you guys have it. I don't
Did
know
we?
spit numbers. I mean, we're right around the
233.
233 range.
233, I'm saying?
Right.
Not
Yes.
to exceed.
Not to exceed
Okay.
that amount. It may not actually be at that, all the way up to that, but that's when we did not to exceed, 'cause there are a little.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So, and I have no questions either. So thank you for all the gentlemen that came out tonight in order to help us field questions if we had them. We appreciate your presence. And for the Cahaba Valley Fire Group, we appreciate you guys backing up our first responders. Thank you very much for the services you're providing to our citizens. It's hugely appreciated. All right. That being said, thank you, Chief. Would anybody be willing to put item number 7 on consent?
Yeah. Yes.
London? Okay. Box? Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. Myself, yes. So right now we've got 6 and 7 on consent, which we will double check here in a second. Item number 8, resolve the resolution 2021-50 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart to execute an agreement with Whistle Stop Festival, Inc., an Alabama non-for-profit corporation for the 2021 Whistle Stop Festival. Mayor, if you would take a moment and just let us know a little bit about that.
Okay, a few months ago, Christopher Cruz, who is the individual that is put on the Whistle Stop through the Whistle Stop through their nonprofit, came to City Hall. He and I sat down, we had a conversation, and we decided that whatever had happened in the past, we would leave that in the past because citizens have been asking, when is the Whistle Stop coming back to the city of Irondale? So after we had that discussion, we came to an agreement that we wanted to be able to bring the festival back to the city of Irondale. However, it would need some in-kind services as well as some funding from the city. I asked Chris to go back and to be able to put together a proposal for what it would take to be able to bring the Whistle Stop to the city in 2021. So he provided me with that information. April has worked with him on this agreement that she's given to each and every one of you all. So that's why you have it in front of you tonight, because we want you to determine if you want the festival to come back to the city or if you do not want the festival to come back to the city.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London?
I do have one comment. I'm glad it's back on the agenda. Now people can stop talking to Councilman London killed it the last 4 years.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah. We're in looking at the contract, just for information for everyone that's asking, we are going to be providing the in-kind services such as electricity, police officers, public works, and mutually agreed upon in-kind services, for instance, the assistance of the fire department for emergency purposes. And Councilman Box and I were talking about one of the areas which has to do with the $20,000 grant donation, I'm not sure about the term, but to the Whistle Stop Foundation. And it will be done in increments. $10,000 within 14 days from the execution of this agreement. And what we'd like to see is we'd like to incentivize the Whistle Stop Foundation, provide an incentive for you to get as many vendors as you can to this festival. So we'd like to see if we can have an amount in this agreement where you can bring in a certain number of vendors before we can go on and give you another $10,000. Is there a way that we can incentivize them to do it? Councilman Box, do you want to add to that?
That kind of covers what we talked about. Once again, I'm running things like a business, not a municipality, so the mayor would have to help us out there. But and is that something that's possible with legal that says, okay, yeah, we definitely want the festival back. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
We'll give you the 10,000, get started, but then go out there and show us that you've got people interested, because it has been several years, and vendors sometimes fall away or synergy kicks in somewhere else. How can we get these vendors back in now, reach this certain point, and then we'll talk about the additional 10,000 once you reach that goal. So is that something doable, April, or no?
Yes, to do that, you could make any motion subject to the agreement of the contractor to actually agree to that, and that the agreement be changed to reflect that.
Okay, so it's to be a performance, the initial funding is here, but the balance funding is performance-based. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Councilman Box,
Yes,
can
sir.
I ask you one question?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, do you all have a number of vendors you would like to see before the second portion could be released? Or how are you going to define what that goal, when that goal has been met to be able to release the additional funds?
Yes, sir. That's thank you, Mayor,
Well-
for that question. That was something we discussed. We need to hear from Whistle Stop. What is their goal? I mean, are they trying to get 500 vendors? Are they trying to get 200 vendors? What's their goal? And then, I'm not an events coordinator, so I don't know whether it's a realistic goal or not, but we'll just take that suggestion from him and then go from there. Or that's my thinking, because, you know, I definitely have heard many people want the festival back, but do we want to get into actually funding the festival, or how much do we want to fund it?
Just to make sure, these would be vendors, correct? Not actual event sponsors. These would be vendors that would be vendors at the event, not like, say, corporate sponsors.
Yeah, I would think that that's where we would want to see it. Now, Councilman Wilson may add something to that, because if corporate sponsors are actually funding it to a certain amount, then you know, maybe he wants to add something to what I said. But I'm just looking at vendors, because, as I say, I know that since we haven't had it 4 years, many vendors that we could count on that haven't been coming the past 4 years, if I say, yeah, you know, I'm not going back this year, but that incentivizes them to go find new vendors that, you know, to get excited about it with us again.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes. You know, this topic has been, Councilman London, you said it, has been associated with me for the past, what, 10, 15 years almost since I've been on the council. So let me be the first to say I'm very excited about the Whistle Stop coming back to Irondale. Let the record stand for that. But there are some things that I do question under Article, and I'm going to get to the sponsorship, but under Article 1, it states, provide a data list of vendors scheduled to participate in the festival no later than 5 days prior to the festival. I would like to change that to at least 10 days. I don't think anything can be done from a city standpoint within 5 days prior to the event. I would like a little bit more time on that. I'm trying to get to it. Under one of the articles, it states that the Whistle Stop Executive Director, I guess Mr. Cruz, will inform the mayor, giving him an update of the events of the Whistle Stop Festival. I would like for that to include the city council as well. I think the council should be updated as well as the mayor. Not saying that we wouldn't get any information back from the mayor, but I would like for the council to be included on that email, on that distribution, if that's okay. And last but not least, the 20,000. I do agree with the city participating or assisting the Whistle Stop organization in this manner, but the 20,000 is something I'm really kind of contemplating, because when we talk about vendors, when we talk about corporate sponsorships, you know, there's a market out there where you could go out and you know, recruit some of these corporate sponsors to participate in certain festivals when you bring them to your city. So I'm not sure if I can agree with the 20,000. I think when we did this in 2017, I think it was like either 12 or 15, somewhere around in there. And I know we're trying to get it back going, but the 20,000 is something that I would, you know, definitely kind of reconsider. I would like for the council to kind of think about. And I'm also for, if we can put some kind of requirements, just like Councilor Box and Councilwoman Quaylar said, as far as some of the requirements that we may want to consider in order to distribute the second portion of the money that's distributed to the Whistle Stop Festival. I think we need to discuss that as well. But I am for bringing the Whistle Stop Festival back to the city of Irondale. I think it will be a good gesture for the city. I do.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I think Councilor.
One other thing that I would
One second,
like.
Councilwoman Quayle.
Legal had some
Oh,
questions.
sorry.
Yeah.
Legal.
One question. Is that in Article 1E that you were talking about that you would like to add mayor and city council to?
That is correct.
Is
1E,
that-
provide monthly updates of the planning progress by electronic mail to the mayor and his or her designee. I would like for that to be including the council on the first of the month. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Quayle.
Yeah, one of the other things that I'd like added to this agreement is Transparency is really important here. And what I'd like is for us to include an audit provision, the ability of the city to audit, that we add this so that we have the checks and balances. For instance, what is it that the city, you use these funds, city funds, to pay for, and what is it that the foundation paid for, so that we can have a really good idea of having that transparency there. I'd like to add that
A clarifying
into this
question.
agreement.
A clarifying question. Are you talking about something different than possibly their tax returns? Because their
Legal?
tax returns are public record.
This would be different, yes.
would be
It
different?
would be the ability to go in and audit the actual, $20,000 and what it was used for.
Okay, understood.
I think that's what we had an issue with before, because we weren't able to do that.
Well, we could, right?
We certainly could.
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Okay, so our cost for auditing that is going to be what?
Well, it's not,
If we're
it's
gonna
not gonna
audit
be that much.
$20,000 and it's gonna cost us $5,000 to audit it, that's kind of,
Well, I think to do the audit, we can do that in-house. That's nothing
Yeah.
more than taking the receipts and verifying them versus the amount of money that the city invested into the festival. However, I would like to ask everyone, since we are making all these changes to the agreement, if we can just postpone this resolution until the next council meeting.
That was going to be my next
Sounds
question
good.
to you, mayors, if you wanted to sit tight on it for a second. Okay. Is everybody in accord on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for clarification and unity purposes, should we send our amendments to Ms. Danielson, if that's the case?
Yes,
Okay.
Perfect.
you can send them to Lou and April.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lou. I apologize. I have to get used to that.
Welcome aboard again. Item number 9, thank you for that. Resolve that Resolution 2021-51 authorizes Mayor James E. Stewart to enter into tax enhancement agreements with Avenue Insights and Analytics for the collection of sales, use tax, rental tax, and lodging tax for the city. We've already entered into an agreement with them for business licenses. This is similar, but for questioning purposes, Councilman London?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Got them answered.
Outstanding. Councilman Box?
good as well.
Perfect. Councilman Wilson?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, and I too am well. Would we be willing to put item number 9 on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Moving on to item number 10, Resolution 2021-52 authorizes the law firm of Wallace, Jordan, Ratliff, and Brandt LLC to file an appeal with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals on behalf of the city of Irondale, Alabama, in the case of Norfolk Southern Railway Company, et al. Versus Alabama Department of Revenue, number 13 CV 1305. April, may I call on you to explain that? And I know we're probably going to be discussing it here in a moment. I don't know if that's what was on the agenda.
This would just basically allow the city to appeal to the next highest court the ruling of the United States District Court against the city in this particular, case.
Understood, thank you. Councilman London, any questions that we can openly
question.
ask? Okay.
No, sir.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
We covered this a lot.
All right, outstanding. Councilman Wilson?
I'm good.
Perfect. Would we be willing to put resolution item number 10 on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. All right, item number 11, resolve that Resolution 2021-53 approves the 060 retail table wine on or off-premise alcohol license for the restaurant by Eat at Panoptic, requested by Panoptic LLC, located at 1819 Crestwood Boulevard, Irondale, Alabama. Councilman Lennon, any questions on this?
Off premises. What is off premises?
On and off, yes, sir.
You can, they can buy it and also take it off the premises once they buy it.
Okay. Okay.
So if you don't finish your wine with dinner, you can take it home with you.
That's what
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Wilson?
No questions, however, I would like to commend Chef Raquel on the interview she had this morning on
Absolutely.
on Fox News this morning. It was kind of nationwide. She did a very good job, kind of, putting Irondale out there. So want to commend her on that.
Would we be willing to put item number 11 on
Yes.
consent?
Yes.
Everybody's in agreement on that? Outstanding. Item number 12, resolve that Resolution 2021-54 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart to execute agreement with Jefferson County, Alabama for a roadway project on Grants Mill Road. Mayor, would you like to take us through this for just a moment?
Yes, this has to do with the county widening Grants Mill Road. And we have some utilities that are in the roadway. And they've requested for us to be able to remove those utilities. We're not going to do it ourselves. It's easier for them to be able to coordinate it through the general contractor than it is for the city to try to get in and to be able to do their part. So we're asking for you to be able to approve an agreement to allow them to be able to move those water lines for the widening of Grants Mill Road.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London?
Yes, Mayor, is there any drawings or spec that we can look at, council, or how that road's gonna look?
Yes, Jared would have some plans. They're very technical plans, engineering plans, that he would have that you could.
Yeah. I'm just curious about I heard about the roundabout. That's correct. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, but this just has to do with the movement of the water lines.
Okay,
This is
yeah.
not the actual
Right.
revisions that's going to be made to the road. This will just include the technical part of it where it shows how we're going to move those water lines.
Okay. With your permission, could I?
But we will, I want to say they have an interactive website, because Frank and I went down to the roads department, roads and transportation, and they actually showed us a 3D version of, what it's going to look like. So as soon as we can get more information,
Okay.
we'll actually have a few public hearings. We'll have a few work sessions, so you all will definitely be brought up to speed before
Okay.
any of the work is done.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Quayle?
The only thing I wanted to note for our audience is that this was included in our capital improvements partial summary that Mr. Morris presented to the council. And so that is covered, the amount is covered, and I'm fine with it.
Perfect. Councilman Box? Outstanding. Councilman Wilson?
No question.
And myself, no questions. Would we be willing to put item number 12 on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Councilman Spivey?
Yes, ma'am.
The resolution number 2021-49, is that an unbudgeted expense, Mayor, that it would need to be treated as a permanent resolution and read twice?
It is.
So if we could remove that from the consent agenda,
Okay.
that would be great.
I knew the funds were coming out of the general budget, so I considered it an approved expense, but we can take it through the process.
Yes, we're going to take it out of the general fund, but it's not a line item that it was dedicated to before we adopted the budget.
Copy. So item number 7 coming off of consent. All right. All right, so now we find ourselves at the approval of the agenda. Is someone prepared to introduce the agenda with the following items that we've mentioned on consent?
I will.
All right.
I make a motion that we approve the following agenda under new business. Under item number 6 as consent. Item number 8 to postpone until the next meeting on the 16th. Item number 9 under consent. Item number 10 under consent. Item number 11 under consent. Item number 12 under consent. And I need to go back, and I think we had some rewording of one of the
I think the rewarding was really wrote on the item number 8, which is the postponed.
which,
Right.
oh, postpone, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
All right, we have an agenda on the floor.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And as far as consent purposes, just want to do a roll call real quick. So I'll be looking for a roll call in agreeance for items number 6, number 9, number 10, number 11, and number 12 to be put on consent. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay. Now that we have a approved agenda, we will be looking for public comments on agenda items only, and that does not apply to the first 4 items as they've already had public hearings on those. So the first, so any of the other agenda items that we've covered would be open for comments. Any comments on agenda items only? I'm sorry? I thought it was on. Chief, do we have any comments on agenda items? Okay. Okay, since it's postponed, okay. Perfect, thank you. All right, that being said, and we will pause at item number 3 and move into executive session. So that being said, item number 1 under new business, ordinance 2021-11 regarding the rezoning at 2605 Edward Street. Would someone take us through the process?
I make a motion that ordinance 2021-11 be considered read.
We have a motion, and we have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Yes, ma'am?
I make a
You
motion.
say all opposed?
All opposed?
No.
No, we have 1 opposed. Okay.
2 opposed.
2 opposed. I'm sorry, I can't hear you all the way down here.
Sorry.
All right. So we're not considering this item read tonight. In legal, I believe that shuts it down for a 2-week period, right? Since we cannot consider it read?
Until the next meeting, which would have a second reading, correct?
Understood. Thank you.
What were the votes again? I didn't hear.
Councilman London, you were in the opposed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar, you were for. And then Councilman Box, you were for. And then Councilman Wilson, you were against. Does that have to be unanimous, legal?
To be
No.
considered read for the first time?
It does have to be
To
considered.
move into the second reading, yes.
Okay, gotcha, perfect. I would be a yes for the record, but since it's not unanimous, this will have to come back. All right. For item number 2, if someone would take us through the process on that ordinance 2021 regarding the rezoning of 2410 Second Avenue North.
I make a motion that ordinance 2021-12 be considered read.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2021-12.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, finally,
I make a motion that ordinance 2021-12 be approved and adopted.
it has a clarification that I should have done prior with the exclusions that the person proposing is willing to accept. All of the other conditions of I-1 not being included in this rezoning, only what is necessary to operate a nursery for propagation and sales, as a final clarification. So we've got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes.
That's what I was looking for. That's it, yeah.
I didn't want to forget that because that was my thing. All right, so now we find ourselves at item number 3, which is executive session. So we have been informed and allowed by our legal counsel that we are allowed to enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation. We will remove ourselves and go into another chamber. At the end of that executive session, we will come back and we will resume this meeting. All right?
We expect for it to be around 10 minutes.
We expect it to be around 10 minutes. Thank you for that. All right? right, we're returned from our executive session. That being said, if we could go ahead and have someone take us through item number 4, which would be Resolution 2021-46.
All right, I make a motion that Resolution 2021-46 be approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No, any opposed? All right, number 4 passes. Item number 5, if someone could take us through 2021-47.
I'll make a motion that Resolution 2021-47 be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. That motion passes. Item number 6 was on consent. Item number 7, actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. Item number 7, since it's an unbudgeted expense, if someone would take us through the ordinance process, even though it's a resolution, we're going to treat it like an ordinance.
I make a motion that ordinance 2021-49 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2021-49.
Resolution 21-21-49.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. You're back there. Okay.
I make a motion that resolution 2021-49 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That passes. Item number 8 was postponed. Item number 9 is on consent. Item number 10 was on consent, 11 on consent, and 12 on consent. So we have worked through our agenda. Now we find ourselves looking for any public comments to the council on non-agenda items. Do we have any comments on non-agenda items? I saw these 2 young ladies coming up first. Whichever would like to go first. If we make sure we definitely get your name and address.
Francesca Roscoe, 5018 Janet Lane in the Regency subdivision. I'm here because of my concern about the widening of Grants Mill Road. Janet Lane is a main thoroughfare now from, I would say, Crestwood Boulevard coming through the neighborhoods, down Abigail Lane, on Janet Lane, into Regency East Drive, straight to Old East Road. Traffic has picked up considerably coming through the Regency East subdivision because people now realize that they can cut through to get to Old East Road, and it's going to get worse when this project starts to widen Grants Mill Road. And I'm requesting that speed breakers be placed along Janet Lane due to the increased traffic coming from and going to Old East Road as a result of the widening of the Grants Mill Road project. Also, we need no dumping signs along Janet Lane due to the increased traffic. I have been in my front yard and people have come by and thrown glass bottles, and I hear the crack, and they're going on down the street. And I have personally gone out there and pushed the glass over into the gutter, so nobody had to ride through there. I've seen trash thrown, to-go boxes thrown out along Janet Lane. So something needs to be done about that because it's getting worse and worse.
Understood. The speed bumps or speed breakers would fall under the purview of the police department, so that would be you getting with the mayor so that he could get with chief to evaluate that, and then
It's a engineering, it's more of an engineering
Okay.
question where the engineers will have to come out and to be able to look at Janet Lane to determine even if it's safe to be able to put speed bumps in that area. I mean, I've driven Janet Lane, and usually you put speed bumps in a place where where it's flat. And there's not a lot of flat road on Janet Lane, but we will have Sane to go out, let them evaluate it. If they determine that they can go there, we'll do it. If they determine that they can't, we'll do that also.
And then the dumping would fall under the purview of Public Works.
Yeah, yes, Frank can take care of that tomorrow.
Okay, so just get with the mayor, make sure he's got all the details, and
An example of a road that has recently installed speed breakers that has the same topography as Janet Lane is Country Club Road in Mountain Brook coming off of Montclair Road. It's the same thing, and they have just installed speed breakers.
That's correct.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. President, I just want to comment. I saw something on Birmingham today about illegal dumping. They have those cameras out there. I don't know what kind of cameras they are, but they just have bad problems of people just dumping. Even in your district, I saw some bad problems of dumping trash.
We installed cameras at one dump spot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, we'll talk, Mr. Mayor, we'll talk about that. There's some problems in Holiday Gardens that may need some of those cameras.
I know we had a few more comments on non-agenda items. There was a young lady before you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Tori Spearman. I'm here with the same issue once again. I was wondering, it's related to abatement of 2305 First Avenue South. I was wondering if there were any new developments or if I can expect to see this item on the agenda at the next council meeting as I was told prior.
I believe it's supposed to be up on our next agenda, the second meeting in June. The abatement for this is the Stanley property. Am I correct?
I'm not sure who the
Okay.
owner is.
I think that's the Stanley
correct.
property.
It is up for the
It's
next
scheduled to be on our next
meeting and
agenda.
public hearing.
It'll be on our next agenda.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see here. I'll let Mr. Dunlap, please. Did you get her address? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Donald Dunlap, 1335 Montevallo Road. One thing I'd like to compliment the city on is the sidewalk that they put down around Montevallo Road. The residents in the area will wear it out. I mean, every day, people walk their dogs, their kids, or just walk it for exercise. And it has made the property in that area very attractive, and property values have shot through the ceiling, also because of Montevallo Park development. But I do have one area that I would request be looked into by the city. Now, this past week, that little rain we had, now, I didn't think much of it, but over the past 30 years we've been living there, the storm drain at the intersection of Montevallo Road and Batavia has been stopped up as long as I can remember. And it's a constant thing. And it's already done damage on my property, and it's a problem. And I'm formally requesting at the next opportunity if you want to see what it is, and today, in the coming few days, there may be the opportunity. It doesn't have to be a heavy rain, and it just flows. It's a mess, and it creates problems for the neighbors to my right and down Batavia. Seriously, so I would appreciate it if the city would see it at that time and clean out that storm drain prior to the fall, because the trees in the area, they will add to the problem. Other than that, I'm happy to be there.
Thank you, sir.
Now, sometimes we have some hot rodders in the area that come through the area because it's a shortcut. But basically, over the years, and this is 30, we've not had any auto accidents there or other problems as a whole in the neighborhood, thanks to our police department patrolling through there on various occasions. And I have, in the past year, had to call on our emergency services to get me to the hospital, and they were there in no time at all and handled the situation. But this little flooding problem, I have talked with my neighbor there at the corner of Batavia and Montevallo, and I told them, and we've talked about it. We would ask you to please get somebody to take a look at it and see what can be done to bring that to a halt.
I see Frank nodding behind you. You're on his list. I said it. So I'm sure the mayor and Frank, I'm sure, will get together and get to that as soon as they possibly earliest they can. And then obviously we've got a meeting coming up here very soon to talk specifically about storm drains as well as a few other things. So thank you very much, Mr. Dunlap.
One thing I've done, and I'm having a good time with it, with the comments that I'm getting. If you want to see something on your way home tonight, swing down Montevallo, see the little flag parade I'm putting on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks. Ms. Pike?
This has been a long meeting, so I'll keep it short. Until we do something, until we impose consequences in this city, I mean stiff consequences for littering and dumping and being toxic to our communities, we're going to continue to have the problems that we hear about on a daily basis. In my community, in her community, in your community, and we, to my knowledge, we have no consequences. It's like, if you want to throw something out in Irondale, that suits us fine. There's no littering law, there's no fine. As far as I know, there's no, court. And I just left Florida. There's nothing there because they have very stiff fines for being toxic to the community. So just wanted to, throw that in. I would like for y'all to look at passing a stiff ordinance. I don't know if it has to be the police, the legal department, or whatever, but we need to step up to the plate about the littering problem.
We have a littering ordinance, Mayor. I can't remember what the penalty is. Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I'm not.
And
I'm
we
not
need
for
to
sure.
have signs that state that.
Fair enough. Noted. Yes, sir.
Michael Williams, 505 I'm going to be real brief. In December, I wrote to the mayor an email explaining to him 2 ticking time bomb problems. He said he was going to be having meetings with the people involved in a month or so. I never heard back from him. I wrote him a few weeks ago saying it's been 6 months, I still haven't heard from you. We need to deal with this problem. The first problem is you got 3 bridges on 16th Street. They're dilapidated. They're a ticking bomb waiting for one of those to collapse. You don't want that to happen because that's going to be a major problem in this city. I know that Irondale has a long history of railroads. I understand that and respect it. But if we aren't holding the people accountable to, make sure these bridges are strong, they're durable, and there's transparency that we know that when they've been inspected, how strong they are. I've asked a lot of people in the last 6 months trying to find information about these bridges, and nobody wants to talk about it. And, I just want to tell y'all need to get your arms around this before it becomes a problem, because those bridges are having to carry a lot longer trains, a lot heavier trains. You know, I'm not sure that they can meet the codes of what those trains that are going across them now. And, you know, I drive under those bridges and, you know, I have to speed up to go under them because I don't want to be under them any longer than I have to. So I'm just saying, you know, I'm not trying to cause too big a problem. I just want y'all to find out and get answers to what's going on with those bridges and how strong and durable they are, so that the people in this area know what they can expect. Or should they be rerouting their trips and avoiding all of that?
Thank you, sir.
The second thing is that the state of Alabama, when they were changing out their light problems in this area, have left a massive number of light poles sitting on the edges of the interstates, just between mile marker 135 up to where you exit to go to 459. And then if you go over 459 to exit 31, if you take that route and then come back that way, there's 14 poles sitting on the side of the road. All it takes is one car hitting one of those, and you'll have major problems. It's going to be an insurance nightmare, and you know, I just think that, you know, we should hold the state of Alabama accountable to make sure they clean up their messes. They should have dealt with all of this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever they moved all this out of here. You know, they took some and they left a whole bunch. And the 14 I'm talking about are only.
I'm going to have to
this
get you to
small
pump the
area.
brakes. I've let you well exceed the 2-minute mark, man. Do you have any other closing comments briefly?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Council President Spicer,
Yes, sir.
can I respond to Mr.
I was going to
Bynum's
ask if you
question?
had a quick follow-up.
Yes. First of all, I mean, if you're going to, I guess, give a report, you need to make sure that you give the truth to the whole report. You did send me an email, but you forgot to tell everybody that I responded to your email. And I told you that the bridge was under federal jurisdiction, and I told you that the poles on the highway is under ALDOT, and that the city of Irondale does not have any enforcement over those two organizations, and that we will report it to them, and once we report it to them, it's left up to them to be able to move that. But you can't sit up here and say you notified me and I haven't responded to you, because that's why you're here tonight. So my thing is, if you're going to come and say what the mayor didn't do, I would appreciate if you would tell the whole story.
See, I looked
Thank
at
you,
the
sir.
email that you responded to me, and I didn't see that response about ALDOT or anything like that.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate that, Mayor and the gentleman. Do we have any other comments from non-agenda items?
Mr. President, can I make this quick announcement?
Please.
Just real quick. Steve Johnson, the racing team, wins the NHRA 4-wide national. You ever seen these? These are Suzuki's, these motorbike. And he was the national champion over in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he ran a 6.7 at 198 miles per hour in the final round, which is the quickest Suzuki. So I just want to make that announcement. If you want to visit more about that, you can go up on the dragbike.com and you can see the video of all of that. Steve Johnson.
He was sick for some time,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm glad that obviously means he's gotten better. So
Yeah, he's gotten
that's
better.
awesome.
So he won the championship over in Charlotte, North Carolina.
He's been a great fixture in our community for many years, so
Before-
thank you for acknowledging him.
I have another
Before
announcement,
we adjourn,
just real quick.
Council, gentlemen,
One
the
second.
council, I do have a question. We have received the resumes from our city clerk for the CDA position. Can we go on and arrange to have the two candidates come in on June 16th for some quick interviews?
What was the,
To get that
do you remember
done?
what the expiration on that was? I'm not sure. Has it passed?
It's passed.
It's passed?
Right, that's why Ms. Jackson sent us
Okay.
the
I have
information.
requested that to be on the next meeting's agenda.
Perfect. All right. Do we have any follow-up questions from the dais?
Just one quick announcement. Niles Moore, student at JCIB, I just want to know we have some wonderful kids in our school system here. He was selected as the Youth of the Year for the AG Boys and Girls Club of Central Alabama.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
Yeah, and Mayor, you said that the viewing, the drawings are on view in the engineer's office for Old Overton, and you said Mountain View Estates, but you mean Mountain Lake Estates,
I'm
correct?
sorry, Mountain Lake Estates.
Okay, I just want to make sure, so we
And-
don't have anybody getting upset with us.
So where is the engineering office? See, I know people are gonna be asking me that.
The engineering office is actually at the Colonnade,
Fantastic.
Colonnade,
but we're working to get a set of plans here at the city as well.
okay.
Were there any other questions from the audience on non-agenda items? All right.
Motion to, oh.
Well, thank you. Did you have any from your side?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Outstanding.